Stage 3, Pyrenees, as the old Vuelta saying doesn't go. But having started so close to them, it would have been impolite not to call in on the way back from France. So instead of the short, sharp summit finish we often see on day 3 of the Vuelta, it's a full day of climbing in the Pyrenees and a short descent to the line in Andorra. It's a short stage too, only 158.5 kilometres, which invites aggressive racing, and the climbing starts straight away with the summit of the first category Col de la Perche at 31 kilometres. The other two climbs are in the last 30 or so, the 1800-metre Col de la Rabassa and the Alto de la Comella, from the top of which it's 7 kilometres of descent and flat to Andorra la Vella.
Into Andorra they come. Still it's Darwin Atapuma and Rui Costa from UAE Team Emirates who lead the way. They have swept up Alexander Geniez and Davide Villela. So what you're looking at here is the front of the race. Chris Froome with 4 or 5 teammates around him, just sitting on the wheel of those 2 UAE Team Emirates riders who attacked on the penultimate climb and now find themselves slightly mystifyingly still on the front, David, as if they're adhering to a tactic that was a bit of a bust flush in the first place. But then again, you might as well race.
Yeah, I think Rui Costa was announcing there and then that he has the legs to go for the win. Now, the fact that tactic didn't quite work, I think they were hoping that they've got another extra teammates up there with Atapuma, who's still on the front. So Rui Costa and Atapuma had gone, hoping that maybe Team Sky would let them go to give them a slight advantage, with the whole plan being always that Atapuma would drag Rui Costa as far as he could. Now, the fact that Team Sky didn't let them go, that hasn't changed their tactic. They're still going to go for it. So hats off to them. And to be honest, once you're committed like that, you may as well go for it.
Now, remember, there are 3, 2 and 1 bonus seconds for the first 3 riders over the road. Yesterday, that was significant in terms of Matteo Trentin taking the 3 points and pushing himself up the general classification to within touching distance of the red leader's jersey. And it could potentially be significant if someone wants to dive out from the pack and grab themselves 3 points today. Got a feeling it's Matej Moric, the Slovenian climber, who's the second rider from UAE Team Emirates, just tucked in behind Darwin Atapuma, who reaches for a drink. 500 metres to go until the only intermediate sprint of the day. The likelihood, though, that they will just roll through. Ilnur Zakarin in the red of Katusha. That's the rider you're looking at. He has slipped uncomfortably down the general classification, has Zakarin. Starts the day at 33 seconds down on TJ Van Garderen, who's the best placed of the GC riders remaining in this group. Don't forget, the race leader himself, Yves Lampaert, is not here in the red jersey. He's been dropped some time ago, and the last reading we got suggested that he was already 13 minutes further back down the road. Here comes the intermediate sprint, though. We're looking for the green banner, if we get to see it. We don't always on the Vuelta coverage, it must be acknowledged. And they aren't always exactly where we think they are on the road book. In this instance, though, judging by the shape of the peloton, it doesn't look hugely relevant. Shortly after the intermediate sprint, they head onto the climb. The Comella climb begins at 11.4k to go.
It is a small peloton now, and one of the great, and there it is, there's a sprint. It's a rare sight of the Vuelta to actually get it in on screen.
Well, we think we went the entire Vuelta last year without seeing a single one, right? Oh no, there is a little move off the front, a dart off the front, Team Sky.
Yeah, 2 of them.
It was a distant shot, wasn't it? It was Christian Knees, yeah. So, thought for a minute...
No, Chris Froome himself.
How did we not recognise him, David? You know he's won 4 Tours de France.
It's true, that camera angle, he looks a lot bigger in that camera angle.
That's interesting. You know, he's got himself 3 seconds there, and he lost a little kind of margin of seconds yesterday, didn't he, in the wrong side of a split. And he's made good on a little bit there. That's demoralising for everyone else.
Well, that's just classic Chris Froome. I mean, why wouldn't you go for that? So you're in a situation where none of the sprinters are there. It is a clear opportunity. It is, well, 3 free seconds in many ways, and that's the difference between Chris Froome and the other riders. They should be going for that, and I think they've just gifted Chris Froome another 3 seconds, and even we were so surprised we didn't think of it. And there he goes, and from that shot he does look a lot bigger. I think he's got, because he's riding next to Atapuma and those other riders, he does look remarkably like Christian Knees there.
We can't really make excuses for that, but it was, I mean, it's classic Froome. You're absolutely right, it's classic Chris Froome. Well, not long to go now before they do hit the foot of the penultimate climb of the day, the Comella, a Cat 2 climb. Let's see what unfolds on the slopes of the Comella. Diego Rosa leading Team Sky onto the final climb now. Last time we saw this raced in earnest was on the Tour de France, only last year, where Thomas de Gent scored maximum King of the Mountains points in a breakaway. But this, though, is the Vuelta. It's 2017, and it's all come back together again before this climb.
They're going, we haven't seen this from teams in a long time. They're setting up for a full attack from Chris Froome here. So they're doing the peel-offs, the kind of, look at that, they're opening gaps already. So I think we're going to see a big attack from Chris Froome. And they've come into that. Look, you see riders just going as hard as they can and pull up. Esteban Chavez looking great there from Orica Scott, just sitting behind. So Chris Froome's got one teammate sitting on his wheel, and then it's Esteban Chavez there. So Esteban Chavez is in a prime position. So he's obviously back in shape, because we haven't seen him going that well in a long time. After his injury early this year, coming back to Tour de France, where he basically suffered through, was relatively invisible for him, and we're seeing him back at his best. And there he is. You see Chris Froome, they're in second position. They got Wout Powell's there in third. Esteban Chavez sitting there. Rui Costa hanging on Aru. It's and there they have the Movistar ride. But look at the gaps opening up. Look at that. That's the damage that Team Sky are doing.
I think it's Ruben Fernandez from Movistar who's still there. But that's a monster ride from Moscon. I mean, look at that. Just extraordinary.
It is phenomenal. When you consider him to almost be a one-day rider, he's up there putting the best climbers in the sport in serious difficulty. Chris Froome actually suffering a bit from the heat thing. That's something. Oh, he's actually calling Moscon down a bit. Moscon's going so hard, he's actually putting his leader in trouble. Wow, he's blowing out Wout Powell's as well. So that's it. That's. I was just saying before that Moscon is doing the ride of the day, and now it's just taken it to a whole different level.
Has indeed. Fabio Aru looks relatively comfortable, though, in the company of Esteban Chavez. Vincenzo Nibali has made that move as well. There comes Rui Costa. Wout Poels just holding on just about. You can see the two Sunweb riders, or at least I think one of them might be Fröhlinger, actually. So it could be that Warren Barguil has been dropped and is going backwards. Alberto Contador is in trouble, just dangling off the back.
TJ Van Garderen just latching back onto that group. So that's all his job is today, is to try and not get dropped, is to try and stay with those front riders. He doesn't have to ride aggressively. If he wants to be in that leader's jersey under the night, he just has to make sure he's always there in a defensive mode, closing gaps.
So damage is being done. There is Louis Meintjes and there is Alberto Contador. Two GC riders in the Vuelta. It's only stage 3, and they, on this harmless-looking, theoretically, Category 2 climb, are already being put into trouble with 10 kilometres of the race still remaining. So a big kind of distillation, a filtering down of the talent has occurred as Mikel Nieve, another Spanish rider, gets on the front. There's David de la Cruz. You can see TJ Van Garderen there. Romain Bardet has still got Domenica Pozzovivo to work with him. And Nicolas Roche is, in terms of the riders, still in this group, the best placed, along with TJ Van Garderen, in the general classification. And if he can hang on here over the top, Roche has a real chance of taking the jersey here.
Yeah, he does, and it's a race that he's always gone well in, Nicolas Roche, and it's that will be an added factor. He does know he's confident on these roads, these styles of climbs, and often coming off the Tour de France, he does come into the Vuelta a España on even better form than he was there. Now there you go, there's Romain Bardet, there's Nicolas Roche, we're just talking in that blue polka dot jersey, the Yates brothers. So yeah, we've got all the GC favourites. Barguil getting dropped there.
Oh, yeah, Warren Barguil's going backwards. Contador perhaps a little bit less surprising, but look at the time he's losing already. That's the third group on the road. A minute further down the road from Chris Froome and the rest of them now.
Yeah, he does look laboured, and that's it's unfortunately a sight we've become used to of late.
Within the final kilometre now of this climb, and then it's all downhill to the finish. Nieve goes, and now Chris Froome attacks. What can he do? Who can live with him? Chavez, right onto that. He saw it coming. He was waiting for the moment when Nieve would drop off, and Chavez gets right onto Chris Froome's wheel and lets him know he's there. Froome just risks a little glimpse to see what damage he has done under his elbow, and he'll see the Colombian. Very, very sharp reaction from Esteban Chavez there.
Looking supremely comfortable, Chavez. He's been there, he's been prime position the whole climb from the bottom. He's just been waiting for that move to happen. As he said, it just jumped on it without any hesitation, which is what you have to do with Chris Froome. You cannot let him get a gap. Now, it's much easier said than done because it's the acceleration that no one else can match, but Chavez was relatively easily able to match that. Now he's just going to sit there. I don't think he doesn't really need to contribute, and also he's got the Yates brothers behind who do have a fast sprint, who are tactically astute, who, if it does come back together, you would expect one of them to win it, or Nicolas Roche, who again is quite a fast sprinter. But I think Chavez can safely call the card that he's got the Yates brothers, or does he? They're not actually, I can't see them in that group. I think they've been caught out again. That big effort they'll have had to do done at the bottom of the climb to bridge back across, they paid for that now, because now they can't match this final acceleration.
Well, the danger for Chris Froome and Chavez here is that Romain Bardet has got a very able teammate who's able to drive this chase group on. It's Domenico Pozzovivo. There's the advantage for Bardet of having one other rider able to live with that group of favourites, and it's possible that Pozzovivo might just bring this back to within touching distance before the top of the climb or on the descent. They're going to take a small advantage, I think, over the top of the climb, though. Froome and Chavez, impressive.
Well, exactly. All Romain Bardet needs his teammate Pozzovivo to do is keep him within touching distance at the top of the climb, and then if we know Romain Bardet, and we expect it to do what he normally does, he'll then try and lead over the top of the climb, go past everyone in the group, and then really attack the descent. That would be his usual tactic. So it's up to Pozzovivo to get him as close as he can up to the summit, and then for Bardet to punch over the top. And there he goes. There's Bardet moving up now. He's going himself.
Bardet sweeps past that chase group on the road. Nicolas Roche in the polka dot jersey beginning to lose contact. TJ Van Garderen also just hanging off the back. Nibali looks in distress. David de la Cruz trying to get back on terms with Romain Bardet, and they're all getting strung out now. Single riders dotted over the top of this climb. Over the top of the climb, though, Chris Froome and Esteban Chavez over the Comella, second and third placed on the Vuelta last year, headed the race.
Nibali looking very laboured there. Aru, this really is, everyone's just on their own now. Pozzovivo is being laid off. David de la Cruz doing a great ride. Aru just can't match Bardet, who's done a vicious acceleration there, but he is the only guy that's getting close to him. Now Bardet is getting closer to Chavez and Froome, and I don't think Chavez is contributing at all yet to Froome. There he is, there's Bardet getting closer. There he is, you can see them now. So that's fine for Bardet. Bardet's back in control. Look, perfect. He's just going to get there over the top, and he should be able to get back onto them on the descent.
1, 2, 3, Aru right alongside Bardet now, about 5 seconds separating the two pairings who go over the top of the final climb of the day. Aru and Bardet, and ahead of them Chavez and Froome. It looked like Froome went over the top of the climb in first place.
And that is not ideal. Bardet's going to have to get back past Aru as quickly as possible, because Aru just is going to slow down Bardet. Bardet is head and shoulders better than Aru when it comes to descending, and that's almost the worst case scenario for Bardet to have Aru punched by him. But we'll see. It's so close actually. On a technical descent like this, I think they'll be able to get back on terms relatively easily. But Aru's looking good.
Contador has already lost 2 minutes to the rest of the chase. He is not at the top of that climb yet, or not even close to it actually. So the lights have gone out for Alberto Contador as we look at David de la Cruz. I'll say this to you, David, if that group I do remember a stage win on last year's Giro d'Italia for Esteban Chavez when he was away on a descent over the top of a climb in a group containing Georg Preidler, Steven Kruijswijk and Esteban Chavez in the Dolomites, and we all said Kruijswijk or Preidler win that sprint. In the end, Esteban Chavez did win that sprint, so don't rule him out at all.
And he's a clever rider, Chavez. We saw he didn't. He's just been using Chris Froome as much as possible. He's only just started riding with him now in the descent when he's seen the danger of Aru and Bardet coming up. But up to that point, he's let Chris Froome do all the work, and so he is quite clever in that respect. But now it is a very hard sprint to call, and they'll know that as well. They know within those four riders it's going to be very difficult to judge who's the strongest sprinter. They all know what Chris Froome's going to do. He's so aggressive, they can count on him going for it. So probably the smart move would be to just stick yourself to Chris Froome's wheel and let him go for it and try and come over the top of him when he starts to weaken, if he does.
Well, Froome has all sorts of other considerations in the back of his mind, or even to the front of his mind. He knows now that he can, if he just rides hard here, he can do real damage to the likes of Vincenzo Nibali, etc., who aren't even in this race for the stage victory.
Yeah, and he's known that. That's exactly what you want to do. You just wear the competition down, to reduce the variables, and there he's reduced it down to simply 3 now. Well, David de la Cruz, there he is, coming up, a future teammate of Chris Froome. So that goes to show what a great signing that's been for Team Sky, because they can rely on him being there on these hard stages. But here we have the third group on the road. So that's TJ Van Garderen, Pozzovivo, Vincenzo Nibali, and Nicolas Roche. So 2 BMC riders. So this is group 3. So that's 4, 5, that's 6, 7th, 8th, 9th. That's 6th rider on the road is Vincenzo Nibali there.
And not totally out of contention either. Only 13 seconds. Still got 2.7 kilometres to go, but this group are pushing on now. Fabio Aru, Esteban Chavez, Romain Bardet and Chris Froome. If this group of 4 contests the victory, there's no way that Aru or Bardet can take the jersey, assuming that group gets to the line in the end. The only riders who can actually take the race lead are Esteban Chavez and Chris Froome. Froome would be favourite, though. For Chavez to take the jersey, he would have to win the sprint, take the stage victory, and hope that Chris Froome finished in 4th place. Any other result gives Froome the jersey.
So yeah, the safe bet would be Chris Froome to be in the red jersey as it stands, but it depends how he races this final part of the race. Does he look at the long game and just push on and distance his rivals, these rivals here, or does he hedge his bet slightly and go for the stage win and take all the honours, if you like?
I tell you what, sorry to interrupt, it's closing up, David. It is closing up here. This group containing Vincenzo Nibali and Domenico Pozzovivo, and don't forget Nicholas Roach as well in the King of the Mountains jersey, are getting right on terms with the front of the race. This is right still in the balance. 1.4k to go. Aru glances behind him to see what's happening. Bardet gets his sprinter's legs ready and just shakes them out. Chris Froome on the front, trying to hold off that challenge containing Vincenzo Nibali, perhaps sacrificing, perhaps his chances of stage victory in the process, though, and playing into the hands of Chavez and the others.
There you go. You know, you can just predict that Chris Froome's going to do that. He does play the long game. He will drive forward. He won't play too much with this. But Chavez has now found himself in the front, which is far from ideal, especially the speed they're going at here. You want the effect you'll be getting from the slipstream will be massive this speed. Chris Froome goes again. So look at this. I mean, he knows he is playing the long game. He doesn't want those riders to catch back on.
1 kilometre time trial for Chris Froome then. He is sprinting to the finish line. He is going as hard as he can, and he doesn't really care at this point whether or not. And there is Vincenzo Nibali, almost out of the blue, and Nicholas Roach and TJ Van Garderen. They have brought it all back, and now the whole thing will stall, and a much, much bigger group believe that they can win a stage and take the jersey. And the first and foremost amongst those riders is Nicholas Roach from BMC in the polka dot jersey. Just sweeps past and goes on a very, very ambitious long-range attack.
Well, that's a questionable move by Nicholas Roach, because if he was going to go for it, he needs to commit 100%. It's almost like he's doing a lead-out, but who for? It can't be for TJ Van Garderen.
Well, he finds himself on the front now in the wrong position, Nico Roach, and it's Fabio Aru who opens up on the right-hand side. But look on the left-hand side of the road, how quickly Nibali has gone, and that is a significant gap, just a couple of hundred metres to go for Nibali. I think he's going to hang on, you know. David de la Cruz and Froome battling it out, but that's an advantage. He knows, I think, Nibali, as he looks under his elbow, that no one's going to get to him. The shark is back, I think. Nibali takes the stage victory. He'll take a really important 10 seconds time bonus as well. There's a sprint for second and third place. It looks as though David de la Cruz might have picked up 6 seconds in second place, and it was close between Bardet and Froome for the additional bonus points in third. But what a ride from Nibali.
That was. It's not the first time we've seen him do it. He did it in the Tour de France when I visited the UK to Yorkshire and Sheffield. And here we have one of the Yates. I think that's Adam for sure. And then, yeah, and there, it's his brother just chasing behind as well.
OK, so I think that's Adam Yates, and Simon just a little bit further back. That was Michael Woods, the Cannondale Drepak rider. And then more and more gaps further back down the road. Remember, Alberto Contador has been really gapped today on stage 3. I don't think we'll be seeing him for a good couple of minutes, but, well, there we go. Ilnur Zakarin is just coming in now, and so too is Louis Meintjes. Those two riders of whom, well, particularly in Zakarin's case, big things were hoped for on this edition of the race, but both of them started the day at some disadvantage, and it's just got worse. Well, Chris Froome, being Chris Froome, I think he might just have hung on to third place there and collected himself an incredibly useful couple of bonus seconds to add to that intermediate sprint. Now Contador comes to the line, and you'd have to wonder, sustaining these kind of losses, whether Rafa Majka joins Alberto Contador in hunting down stage victories, because I think there's precious little else left for them, even at this early stage of the Vuelta. The first day in the mountains has spelt trouble for the leader of Trek Segafredo and from Bora Hansgrohe. Contador stops the clock, 2:34 down on Vincenzo Nibali.
Old rival as in ex-rival, I think. There's the result. Nibali with the win and 10-second bonus, with David de la Cruz and Chris Froome picking up 6 and 4 for second and third. Chavez, Aru, Roach, Van Garderen and Pozzovivo all got the same time as the winner. Michael Woods was next home, 25 seconds behind them, with Adam Yates on his wheel and Simon Yates just off it. Louis Meintjes and Ilnur Zakarin were the last GC riders inside a minute. 2:33 was the gap to Contador in the end, not that the saved second will console him much. This morning's race leader, Yves Lampaert, was in a large group with an even larger deficit, 23 minutes 20.
Simon, all hell broke loose there on the final climb. Talk us through it.
Yeah, what to say? We went full gas from the very bottom, and whoever had the legs was in the front. I got tailed off with Adam at the end there. I think Esteban was at the front. I don't know exactly where, because yeah, we didn't have any radio or anything, so I don't know, but it is what it is.
The good news is that Esteban followed Chris Froome when he attacked on the final climb, so that bodes well for the rest of the race.
Yeah, he looked good. you've been on the climb before also, it looked very easy on the pedals. So like you say, I think it's going to be good for the 3 weeks.
Esteban, you didn't get the stage win, but you must be delighted with how your legs responded.
I'm really happy. I can't complain. I arrived in the first group with the best riders in the world. So I'm really happy. The team works really, really well. Like always, the big fellas and also the climbers. So I want to congratulate Jack Hike. He arrived with us on the border of the last climb, and it's really good starting this form.
And the news of the day is that you'll be fighting for victory in this Vuelta a España.
Yeah, this is a really good news, and I'm really excited, and I feel like one GC rider again.
And it looks as though it might be a sprint between Chavez and Froome for the win until Vincenzo Nibali rejoined them. He took the green jersey as a byproduct of his stage win.
L'ultima salita è stata difficile, io l'ho preso un po' più indietro, ho fatto un grande sforzo all'inizio, poi l'ho pagato anche alla fine, sono scollinato con circa 10 secondi. Però nel scendere giù ho trovato anche una buona compagnia di Nicolas Roche e sono riuscito ad entrare al chilometro e mezzo. C'è stato un piccolo rallentamento e io ho colto subito l'attimo a circa 400 metri, era una volata lunghissima, però ho provato perché sapevano che c'erano buoni e c'era in gioco anche la vittoria e Froome ha preso la maglia, quindi un grande leader e sta molto bene, l'ha dimostrato, quindi vediamo.
Second place on the first two climbs of the day was enough for Davide Villela to take the polka dot jersey from Nicolas Roche, who's one of only 3 survivors from this morning in a radically reshaped top 10. His teammate TJ van Garderen is another, they're 3rd and 4th, but Chris Froome has moved past them both from 9th place to 1st. He leads David de la Cruz by the 2 seconds he picked up at the intermediate sprint of all things. Vincenzo Nibali is up to 5th, 10 seconds behind Froome, a second ahead of Esteban Chavez. And there's 10 seconds covering 7th to 11th. Fabio Aru, Adam Yates, Domenico Pozzovivo and Romain Bardet complete the top 10. Simon Yates is just outside it and the last man within a minute of the race lead. Alberto Contador is already over 3 minutes down after 3 stages. So, 8 days short of 6 years since he last stood on the podium to receive the race leader's red jersey, Chris Froome finally makes a repeat visit. All he needs to do now is to hold it for the next 18 stages, and he'll have laid the ghost of 2011, which clearly still haunts him. Here he is with Daniel.
Chris, 3 days down and you're already in red. Some will say, what was the hurry?
Yeah, I mean, amazing feeling to be back in the red jersey now after 6 years of trying to be in this position. So the team were fantastic today. We decided to take it on the penultimate climb, and the guys were just fantastic. Laid down a really hard tempo, and there were tough conditions out there. It was really hot today and tough climbs. And I think a special mention to Gianni Moscon as well. It's his first Grand Tour with us, and he was amazing today. When he hit the front, the race just blew to bits.
And the fact that you sprinted there at the finish indicates you were going for the red jersey, you were thinking about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think back in 2011, I lost the jersey by 13 seconds. So at this point, I'm just going to fight for all the bonus seconds I can.
And when you did attack on the final climb, Chris, slightly surprised to look round and see that the only man who had followed was Chavez.
Yeah, I think Chavez is. I knew he was looking really good coming into this race. I'm happy that he was up there. I mean, I think he deserves it. He's obviously worked hard to be there, and a great rival.